Hey there. Today, One Cancer Place introduces you to the poignant story of a person, one of a series of personal stories that provides a peek into the authentic life of a cancer patient. We hope that you find the magic in these unique stories, because each of these lives is lived to the hilt, in service of others and in a deep gratitude for survival. One Cancer Place, the newest patient-led community, leads the way in delivering the revolution in cancer care to its growing membership of cancer stakeholders and patients. Find and connect with us online at www.onecancerplace.org. Thanks.
Yeah, my name is Stephen Westphal. I'm a stage 4 squamous cell sarcoma oral cancer survivor. And I was invited here to share my story. And I'm happy to be here and share my experience, and maybe that will help others keep on going.
Tell me about your life kind of leading up to diagnosis.
Well, I was just trucking along, happy with life, looking forward to being 65 and retiring. And I had got the shock of my life in August of 2018. In just a matter of about 72 hours, my entire life just crashed down around me. I had a little experience in 2014 where I spent the whole summer being sick and having blood tests 3 or 4 times a week and all kinds of different tests with all kinds of different specialists, and nobody could figure out anything. And the final diagnosis at that time was that I had hemolytic uremic syndrome, which was caused by a food. If you remember Jack in the Box years ago, back in the 90s, several people died from eating hamburgers, and that's what they was diagnosed with. Anyway, I got through that. The doctor put me on different medicines, and it just kind of went away. And I kept working. I'm an electrical contractor. I've been a journeyman electrician since 1980. And I've worked all over the Western United States. And in 1989, I was sent to a project in Jackpot, Nevada. And that project took me 3 years of my life and changed my whole trajectory on life. I ended up getting married for a second time, and next thing I know, we had a son born and another son born, and God had just blessed me with what I was supposed to be doing. And I started my electrical company. I called it at that time Westphal and Sons.
I want to back up a little bit and ask, you mentioned that when you got this diagnosis that it turned your life upside down, and it sounds like a very difficult path. How did you persevere? Like, how did you find the light at the end of the tunnel when it seemed like that didn't exist?
That's a good question. And the only thing I can think of, Carter, is my faith in God. I was introduced to God when I was a little boy, and I've been, I would say, semi-religious all my life, but I really wasn't an active believer, churchgoer, or anything like that. In my case, the first thing I did was I realized I couldn't fall to pieces, even though I wanted to. I wanted to just run outside and scream and holler and shout and fall down on the ground and and just lay there. But I didn't. I become numb, and all of it. Now that I think about it, is like it's like a nightmare, like a horror movie that you watched and it scares you, and then you turn the TV off and you think about it for days or weeks or months.
I can't imagine. And I know that you mentioned that you had a near-death experience in the hospital. Can you tell me about that experience?
Yeah, Carter, I did. It was a very strange thing. This was after my second operation, and the reason it was so long was they had put a bone in my jaw that had been completely removed. The bone was from my left leg, and it developed what's called necropathy. The bone died, and so it had to come out, and they took a bone out of my right arm above my wrist. And when they take the bone, they take the nerve and blood vessels and all kinds of stuff. But they had to take my jaw apart and replace with a new bone part. And so that operation was almost 18 hours long, and I got out and I was in ICU for 7 days. On the second day of ICU, COVID was in full blast and everybody was in space suits, and it looked like just something from a Hollywood movie about being on Mars or someplace.
Yeah.
And I'm in the bed, and all this surgery is on my neck. They had, when they do that, they take and almost uh, take your head completely off and open you up. Anyway, I was still under a lot of heavy duty anesthetics, and they got me up and wanted me to walk. And the guy in the suit helped me get up, and I stood up, and I looked up to the pole with all of the IVs and alarms and everything. And as soon as I stood up, my body went outside of the fifth floor of my room, and I was looking inside at, there was 6 or 8 people in there, and they was all just looking around, wondering what happened, and they was in a sense of panic. But I was outside, suspended in air. I could look down, I could look sideways, I could look through that window, and I was in a gray area. There was a light shining on me, although it was just a gray, dim light. But on my right side was absolutely pure white. I mean, the brightest white that I'd ever seen. On the left side of me was absolutely pure black, the blackest black I've ever seen. And I had absolutely no fear of anything. Um, I didn't hear anything. There was no message, no nothing. I was just shown that. And as I was looking in there, my wife come in the door, and I seen the expression on her face just drop. She had a smile, and it went to sheer panic. And at that time, I was back inside with all of these people doing their medical, whatever they do to try to revive someone that was gone, because my blood pressure had went to zero, my whole body turned off, and all of these alarms that was supposed to go off, and I don't know if they didn't work or what was going on, but the guy that was holding me was he was shaking me, and he was just saying, Steve, Steve, Steve. and I just said, "What?" I couldn't talk, but I communicated with my eyes, and it's hard in that situation when you can't talk, and you want to, but immediately after that, I had two or three specialists come, a neurologist, cardiologist, a psychologist, the spiritual advisor came, and he helped me tremendously. He was as curious as you are
Mm.
about the whole situation. Well,
Mm.
come to find out, when what had happened was there was a swelling on the right side of my neck, and it had pinched off my carotid artery and stopped the flow of blood to my brain. And as I got up or moved or something, the swelling, there was something that happened to where it started back up, and everything was fine. It was all good, but that's all documented and reported. And I guess it's not a common thing, but they have had documented that occurring down there. So
Wow. Yeah, that's an insane story. So to pivot just a little bit, I imagine that people that are involved with One Cancer Place or are starting on their own journey with cancer might listen to this. What advice would you share with them?
I guess I would, and it's hard advice to hear sometimes because of the situation and circumstances that we sometimes find ourselves in, but to just try to keep thinking something positive, a good thought in your mind, whether you share it with anybody or not. Whether it's looking outside and seeing a sunrise, or seeing a bird fly by, or car horn, or something that can take your mind away from what you were dealing with, and realize that you can get through this. You've got to get through it, and it takes a positive attitude, which is really really difficult at times to maintain. After my first surgery, and I was 28 days advancement, there was a hole in the side of my neck on the left side that wouldn't heal up, and the tissue in there couldn't be stitched. There was nothing they could do. They had to drain it, and they did not think it was going to heal, and they didn't know. They didn't have a plan on what was going to happen. They sent me to a hospice. And when you go to a hospice, you normally don't get out of there. That's where you go to spend your last few days in peace and comfort. And I got there, and with Cynthia, and right off the bat, the staff and everything was completely different than it was at the hospital. I mean, it was a whole different atmosphere. Well, Cynthia told them right as soon as we got there how things were going to be and what was going to happen. We was going to get out of there. Well, on the sixth day or whatever, I don't remember what it was, 6 7 days. I had this nurse, and I called the nurse Cratchit because of that. I had to have something to entertain myself with, and anyway, she would looking at me and just scowl, and she didn't like me for some reason. And so me, being, I just couldn't take that. So I'd always find something to aggravate her with. And anyway, she looked in one day and I said, "Good morning." And she walked past me. She come back and stuck her head in the door and she says, "Why are you always so happy?" And I said, "It's my blood type." And she just looked at me and she says, "What do you mean?" I said, "It's B positive."
Oh.
And she cracked a smile and there was a little chuckle and she just kept on walking. And I smiled to myself. I said, "Yeah, that's good, Westphal. You did good." And so the next day, I was released, and as I was leaving, they come and asked me if I wanted a wheelchair, and I said no, I wanted to walk out of there. And I had the bags that they give you, and I was about halfway down the hall, and a guy in a suit come at me at a pretty good rate of speed, and I thought, oh, something's up here. And he said, "Are you Mr. Westphal?" And I said, "Yeah." And he introduced himself. He was the director of that floor, which was the third floor. And he says, "Can I assist you with your luggage here?" And I said, "Well, sure, I can use a hand." And we got to the door and sat down waiting for my wife. And he says, "I really admire you, and I really appreciate that you let me help you because I've been here for 7 years, and you're the only second person that has walked out of here."
Wow.
I walked out of there with a smile, and the next morning we left Salt Lake City early in the morning, and we got outside of Salt Lake City about to come out, and the sun come up, and I said, "Cindy, stop, I want to take a picture of this sunrise," because I hadn't seen a sunrise in quite a while. And I took that picture, and every day since then, I have posted a picture of a sunrise to brighten somebody's day, just to let them know that there is hope. Get out there and look at that sunrise and know that we're all here for a purpose, and our purpose is to help each other.